So, guys, welcome back to take 2 of episode 5 of the lockdown podcast. We had a few technical issues. The Wi-Fi was awful, and it didn't go down too well. So we've been upgraded to Zoom. So we're on Zoom now. I'm recording, which seems to be doing the job now. We can actually see how bad Danny's hair does actually look. So we're all good to go. We're good to go. So as I said, we're following on from our club focus. The week previous, we had Trevor Lucy on from the Northwest Wolves Wheelchair Basketball Club. So cheers, Trevor, for coming on. And it was really, really interesting stuff. This week, we've been joined by Neil Carlisle from the Knights Wheelchair Basketball Club, the OGs of Northern Ireland Wheelchair Basketball. So it'll be interesting to get his take on how he got involved in the sport and so on. And once again, we've got our usual suspects. So we've got Danny Cooper, Wheelchair Basketball Club Development Officer, and the superstar in the room, James Mack, who plays for GB and NI Wheelchair Basketball. So, guys, welcome back. Neil, thanks very much for joining us, mate.
Thanks for having me on.
No worries. Boys, so as I explained to you in the first take that we've done of this, so we're going to do like a bit of a weekly roundup. So anything interesting going on? Danny, we'll start with you. What's been going on with you, mate, over the week?
As I said, same answer as the other day. So, boys, try not to yawn while I'm going through. But I've become very, very aware from listening to these that this section's become like room 101 for me, and just moaned about everything and anything in this little section. I don't know why. So, a bit more positive slant, I guess. Clubs are working hard. There's a lot of stuff going on in clubs, great stuff, whether it's home workouts or commit meetings for that. So that's great to see. Brushing up on the language skills, spoke about this in take 1, and James pulled a ooh face, which I was hoping to get back. Thank you, cheers.
I also said, was it Northern Irish?
Yeah, you did.
That one in there as well, just to stick the knife in.
You're actually sticking to the same script, which is great. No, anyone who knows a bit about me would know I worked in the Bundesliga previously. I did a bit with them. So I went over to Hanover United pre-Christmas to see what they're about as a basketball club, and realised the German's not as good as it used to be, so brushing up on that, I suppose. Read kind of an article in The Guardian saying that curtains are back in, so all good to go. She's lovely.
What was that from '95? You going back in
the... yeah, absolutely. Man United just won the treble at the same game. And then the last thing really is just a bit of a shout out to Dylan Cummins. He's the voice of Wales basketball, BWB, IWBF, and actually sounds like I'm rolling off his heavyweight titles by doing that, doesn't it? But he teamed up with our own voice of Wales basketball, Callum Warren, on Skype the other day, and I was there, and just sitting back and watching those guys talk about media, bounce off each other, just quality. So that was brilliant. So a big thank you to Dylan. I know he'll be listening as he is every week, which is great. So all good.
Happy days. Cheers, Danny. James, what about you? What's been going on, man?
Kind of same as always, taking over with the training that we can do at home. Obviously GB have been great looking after us, giving us stuff to do and sort of guiding us in that sense. We haven't been too bored in terms of keeping ourselves fit and active. But in between that, I've been doing this psychology course that I think I've mentioned a couple of times. I know I definitely mentioned it in the first take of that, but that's in the bin now. So yeah, so I've been studying a bit, and I think the last time we did this, I took this as a chance to shamelessly plug the other podcast I'm involved in. It's on Raw Coaching. It's called Bench Units. Over the weekend, we did a very long, very in-depth podcast with GB international basketball player Gaz Chowdhury. Yep. It's like 2.5 hours long. Might cut it in half. Whenever it's out, I'd recommend having a listen to it. It's really cool. But yeah, just trying to keep myself busy, trying to spend equal amounts of time thinking about basketball and staying active and chilling out. I'm allowed to go outside now, which is nice. I went for a walk along the beach yesterday, and this morning there's an outdoor basketball court right beside the beach, 2 minutes from the apartment. So I went down and got a couple of shots up to see if I remember how to do it, and I don't. So yeah, getting there. I wanted to take a video of my very first shot, but I missed it, so I'm kind of glad I didn't. Yeah, that's all for me. Just trying my best.
Happy days. Well, it's good to hear that some of the lockdown restrictions are being eased a wee bit for you, and you're getting out and getting a bit of fresh air and going along the beach. Really jealous. I suppose it's a wee bit better than going down to Jordanstown. Not
bad. A bit warmer.
100%. I'll give you a wee bit of a thing that happened to us as a family. So as I was explaining to you boys, I started my own barber shop up, making a few quid off my son. So had him in the seat, and it turned out okay. I was able to fade up nicely and stuff, and I was thinking I'm doing great. Then my wife enters the room and says, "Is there any chance he's been in the chair for 2 hours?" And then I realised, I'm taking this way, way too seriously. So he was devastated. Get me out of here. I want to get into the shower. And then another thing happened. He decided that he had a bit of a cry because he's missing his friends from school. So he said, "Who do you want to ring?" And he rings one of these wee boys from his class. I won't tell you his name, but this was the most hilarious thing I've ever heard in my life. So the two of these guys start playing with Lego on the floor. And Ben asked the wee boy, "So what have you been doing since I haven't seen you in ages? What have you been doing?" And the kid, this just sums up 6-year-old, he just goes, "None of your business," right? To which Ben says nothing, just breezes over and goes, "Look, I have Sonic here." And me and my wife had to go into the kitchen and nearly collapsed with laughter. It was just the most 6-year-old thing, just completely cut him dry and then just left him out to hang. So that was hilarious. Unbelievable. But enough about me. Neil, have you been getting on, buddy?
None of your business.
Thanks for listening. This has been DS. No. We're done.
All good. Sorry, I had to there. You set it up for me.
Mate, here, listen. I set myself up.
Grand. Working from home, so the routine's the same. I'm still Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, so I've got that working for me, which helps you keep the structure and routine of your day. Apart from that, I've tried doing a wee bit of working out in the evenings, cooking a wee bit more. The weather was good last week, so I spent a good lot of time outside, frittering about and messing about in the garden and stuff, so we're grand. Before we actually come on the podcast there, I showed Phil and James what I'd done to my poor dog, so we had been discussing our own bad haircuts, and the clippers finally came and I bought off Amazon for wee Jack, and God bless him, he looks like a wee pink ham. No one wants you get at Christmas. Into the skin, so I don't think he's talking to me.
I thought it was bad whenever my son wouldn't speak to me, but doing that to an animal's a different thing. You know what I mean? But cheers, guys. Cheers for letting us know what you're going on about. As I said, that's kind of a bit of a roundup, just to get a bit of a laugh going and find out what people are doing. Obviously, within the lockdown, I'm sure it is a bit difficult, but at the same time, you get to spend loads and loads of time around our family and friends and different things and get a bit of a laugh and take a different perspective on it. So cheers for sharing that with us. But as I mentioned before, we'll have Big Neil Carlisle on from the Knights Wheelchair Basketball Club. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to give a wee bit of information about the club before we get started. But the reason why we had Neil on was he was a sort of fairly new member to the Knights to a certain extent. Different kind of like take on the club. And he's also an international, an Ireland international as well. So who better to have on, and share their thoughts. So Neil, listen, I'm going to give a quick rundown of the club here just for people to give them a bit of info. If I screw this up, please let me know, all right? Yeah, because I've done it right the first time, I will say that. But second time round probably usually doesn't work out that well. So the Knights Wheelchair Basketball Club was established in 1990 by Michael Munnis and Ivor Jess. Club captains are, so your GB club captain is Jason Kennedy. Your NI Wheelchair Basketball League captain is Nathan McCabe. Recent honours is 2017-2018 Irish League and Cup winners, and then 2018-2019 GB Division 1 winners, which was an unbelievable season for you. GB internationals in terms of like people that the club have produced, Davy McAleese, Paul McKillop, Chris O'Neill, Matt Rolston, Jason Kennedy, Cameron Campbell, Kenny Murphy, Con Nagel, Katie Morrow, yourself, Emer MacSorley, and then obviously the elephant in the room, Big James MacSorley as well. If there's anybody that I forgot, I really, really do apologise, but the list was just way, way too long. So obviously coming up a lot of pedigree there. Current competitions that you're in, the GB Premier League, and then the NI League sponsored by Perennials as well, our domestic league. and then playing in training venues, Antrim Forum, and then the Hammer Community Centre in Belfast. Did I nail it, or did I not?
Sounds about right there. Yeah, sounds good.
2 out of 2, baby. 2 out of 2. Unbelievable. Yeah.
Let's mess this up again and see if you go for the triple.
Just about to say, can you get it right in draft 3?
Yeah, 100%. I probably would mess it up the third time I do it, to be fair. That's my type of personality. So I suppose the big talking point is, Neil, give us a wee bit of an insight in regards to how you got involved in the sport of wheelchair basketball.
Cool. I lost my leg in 2008. I think my leg anniversary is actually next week, so it'll be 11 years next week. And whenever I was actually still in hospital, my mum had mentioned wheelchair basketball to me, because I'd always played football, Gaelic, a wee bit of rugby, tried my hand at anything, wasn't one for sitting watching TV or playing the Xbox. But at the time, I sort of dismissed it. I was still obviously struggling to come to terms with the fact that I'd acquired a disability, especially at 17 years old, so it was a wee bit difficult then. And I just dismissed it and let it go. And I don't know what it was, but I tried for a couple of years, sort of training in the gym, swimming, and it's boring. Like, going to the gym's all right if you're doing it for a sport and you're going to see the benefits on a court or on a pitch. Swimming is just boring. I don't know how anybody can do it, because staring at the bottom of a pool is just boring. James comes out, he tried it and switched to the wheelchair basketball, but it was the Knight's 25th anniversary tournament that I went to. I just went up sort of to watch. I'd mailed him on Facebook and got talking to Jason Kennedy a wee bit, and he said, just come up and watch, see what you think. And that was their last sort of couple of games for that season, and then they were into their summer break. So whenever they started back into pre-season, I went up to the club and thought, you know what, I'll give this a go. Still kind of didn't really think it was for me, because I don't use a dacher, I don't use a wheelchair, and I think that's an amputee thing as well. You know, we're not disabled, we can walk.
Yeah,
it's the attitude that a lot of us have. But I went up and I gave it a go, and it was very, very competitive. Everyone was very welcoming and very open, and I just haven't looked back since. So that was sort of how I got in the door, so to speak.
Happy days. And I suppose question came into my head there was, what made you said you had a wee bit of a time where you were in a bit of limbo, obviously coming out with an acquired injury and new disability to a certain extent. What then changed your mind to actually touch base with Jason in the Knights and come up and watch that 25th anniversary competition?
I don't know. After I lost my leg, so you're 17 years old, that's sort of around the age you're starting to Bebo girls and hope that they Bebo you back. And you've got all your sort of, all your school choices, uni choices and things like that. So there's a whole lot more going on than just sports. So whenever I lost my leg, it's sort of, I don't know, sends you off track. You're not thinking about sports, just goes in the background, because you're thinking about how does my life go on. Whereas now, looking back, I don't, you know what, if I'd had wheelchair basketball from day one, I would have adjusted to everything else a whole lot easier and a lot quicker.
Yep.
But unfortunately, I went about it the wrong way. Tried to get myself right first in my head, and got my degree and everything, started working. And I thought, you know what, I've got my sort of routine now. I've got a job. Let's start looking for what sports I can do. Thankfully, you can't look up disability sports in Northern Ireland without Knights being one of the first clicks, because they've been around for that long. And that's how I got involved in that. And then whenever I talked to Jason, I think actually one of the first questions he asked me was, what height are you? I was like, that's a strange question, because
that's not a strange question.
It doesn't matter, you're sitting in my chair, but I answered him anyway, 6'2", and you can nearly hear him through the phone going, right, get up. So he was very keen for me to get up, and then, like I said, one of the first times I went up to that tournament, Lefty was there, used to play for us, he just doesn't anymore. Got chatting to him, and he was one of the first people I spoke to apart from Jason, and they were all just very open and very welcoming. So it took me 7 years to get there, but finally done it, and like I said, haven't looked back.
Yeah. I suppose, did the club then, would you say that over that 7-year period that you had, that then to get into the club environment, did that then have an impact upon your rehab, both physically and mentally?
Oh God, yeah, 100%. So I remember one of the first times I went in, you're sort of nervous about getting into a new group anyway. I probably still would be, whether it was I was going to a new club or starting a new job or just meeting a bunch of new people. But it was sort of tenfold then, because in my head you're asking all these questions. What do you do? Do you wear the leg in the chair? Do you take it off? Are people going to watch me taking it off? Where do I put it when I take it off? Like, what do you do? What if I'm not good? And I went in and Marty was there, another amputee at the club. And he just flung his leg off and away he went. And I was like, all right, okay, that's how we do it then. That's cool.
Yeah.
Nobody actually cares, because we're all in the same boat. We've all got different levels of disability and nobody really cares. They just want to play basketball.
Yeah.
And slag each other.
Oh, yeah. So I think, yeah, definitely mentally especially was probably where I sort of noticed it first, because it just makes you, I thought I'd got myself to like a level of acceptance with my disability. And it wasn't until I started playing wheelchair basketball where I was like, you know what, I actually hadn't, because I still used to have the old foam cover on the leg, and like the metal now I think looks a lot cooler, but like I had the foam cover. I wouldn't have wore shorts. I always wore like long tracksuit bottoms or jeans. And that was me going, you know what, yeah, I've accepted it, but I hadn't, because I was hiding it away. Whereas you play wheelchair basketball and it nearly makes you embrace it.
Yeah.
Like, one of the strangest things actually that I was talking to my mum about was I was explaining the point system to her. When I first started playing, it was a 4-5. And then when I got reclassified down to a 4, she was like, what does that mean? I was like, oh, it kind of means like I've got half a point of a higher disability. And she was like, oh, no, are you all right? And I was like, no, this is great. Like, it's great. I'm trying to explain the point system to her. So I'm actually glad that class is more disabled.
Yeah.
It means you're getting away with it.
100%. And James, I remember whenever we spoke first in the first podcast, in episode 1, you had sort of explained that, you know, you went through that kind of nervous period. You didn't know whether, you know, sport was for you and whatever. You know, could you give us a wee bit of an insight into that? You know, if you felt like that before, a wee bit uncertain about environments that you went into?
Yeah, generally, as Neil says, like, I don't know if there are people who are immune to this, but like, I'm certainly not. Anytime I'm in a new group that I'm unsure about, whether it be socially or, I don't know, if I ever had a real job or whatever, I'm sure I'd feel very much the same. Every time I join a new team or start training in a new group, it's weird because it's just personalities you don't know, and it's people you're not sure you're going to fit in with. Obviously, like, full credit to Neil. Of course, he was going to fit in. We all know that now. Like, you can't be that good crack without just fitting in seamlessly. But like, there are weird times where, like, I remember moving to Sheffield, for example, and it was all boys that I knew, all guys that I'd grown up playing with and playing on the same teams as club and under 23s and stuff. But I was just like, there was a thing of, oh, this is GB training all the time. Like, I had the feeling that I have at training camps just Monday to Friday every week from now on. And at the start, it was terrible. Like, that was quite a bit of strain to have, but you get used to it, and being in a position to be able to get used to it is an absolute privilege. Like, so like the fact that I could be thrown into the fire and it was stressful, but the fact that that was just my Monday to Friday is what kind of got me used to it. And it's the same with anything, like exposure to that group of people at nights. Eventually you get used to it and you figure it out, and you know who's good crack, and you know, like, where you fit in the group. And obviously a lot of it as your first exposure to disability sport, I think that's a big thing. I remember that's universal, because I remember that at 6, and you remember that at whatever age you were when you started. Like, I remember being like, oh, these people look like me. Like, obviously not facially, but you're just like, oh, that boy has to sit down all the time as well. Like, or Neil, you as an adult were like, oh, cool, this guy just pulls his leg off and he's grand and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's exposure. Like, you're comfortable with what you know, and whether that's a level of performance or just a level of acceptance of disability, it's kind of fairly universal.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's a great point that you make. It is universal, and it's not kind of age adverse. You know, everybody feels that way whenever they go into new environments. And I suppose I'm going to claw Danny into this a wee bit. You know, Danny's a big one in terms of club development and creating those environments within clubs. Especially the new clubs that are kind of fledgling over the last 2 years. Danny, would that be fair to say that's something that you take a real strong focus on in terms of creating a positive environment so that people feel accepted?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I think there's some things, I kind of said this in take one, if you like. There's some things that are completely non-negotiable. You know, the fun aspect, the safety aspects. They've got to be there, regardless of whether it's a disability sport club, Welsh basketball club, you know, whatever club. You know, even in social settings, to be fair, they're non-negotiable. So you try and create that from the off. But I think there's other things there in terms of like the identity in the group itself. That kind of forms itself over time, and it's different for every club. And I've said this in a previous podcast. It's really funny because I could go to a club session on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. They all feel totally different. Yeah. They've all come from the same setting. They've all come from the same background. They've all got kind of the same aims as well, which is pretty cool. I mean, yeah, but like I said, there's a few things there that are non-negotiable. But it's really interesting to hear your two journeys, because one of the things that me and Phil will speak about quite a lot is kind of the term is customer journey, even though I don't like it, which is the feel of someone coming to the doors of a centre. What's that feeling at that split second in time? Is that a feeling that makes that person open that door and go in, or is it a feeling that makes someone turn around and go the other way? And if that feeling's right, and that person's got that confidence to do that, to open those doors, it could be life changing. And obviously, you two boys are just given two prime examples of that. One that really interests me is boxing clubs. I think if you stand outside a boxing club and listen, I don't think many people would want to go in because it's all punch bags and you can hear all that noise. But actually, if you go in there with knowing that club's made contact with you, nearly to Jason, making contact with you beforehand, if all that's there despite all that noise going on, you know what you're going into. You know what's on the other side of those doors. It's quite an interesting thing. It's one of the things that I know me and Phil, we've talked about countless hours in the office, and it's something that's really, really key. But just on that, I'm going to spin off with a question here, if that's all right. Yeah. The other clubs have been mentioned there, and I asked you this take one, so you should have a really decent answer. But what are the other clubs coming up? Kind of what impact have they had? Because obviously for you guys, 30 years, pretty much the only club. We're the only club in Northern Ireland. Now there's 4 of us. What's that been like for the club for you?
It's been great. It's actually brought like a sort of different but an exciting feel to the club as well, because there are players there who aren't at the level yet where they can play GB, Prem or First Division. Some people might say that I fall into that group as well, but we'll say nothing. Or there's players that don't want to get there. They're there to play the sport socially. They don't want to be involved at that high level of competition because it doesn't interest them, which is fine. We try to cater for everything. So if you want to just come for a wee mess about a Thursday night, you can do that. If you want to do it sort of semi-competitively, going into competitive, then definitely join the DSNI League team. And if you can then step up again, by all means do it. So it's been great actually to give an outlet to that group where before you might have struggled. You'd go, where can we get them games? They're coming on a Thursday night and there's nothing really to offer. So the good thing about the league at the minute is these other teams are only starting. So they're sort of at this a similar level of ability as some of the players that we have coming through, either from junior or maybe adults who have joined the club. And it's good to have somewhere where it is sort of a level playing field. Obviously, we do have the advantage that the minds that we can tap into in training, so like Aubrey, Jason, Nelson, Matt Rolston, like other teams don't have that yet. So we do, which is probably one of the biggest reasons that our DSNI team this year has excelled. They haven't been beaten yet, and it is probably just down to the experience that they can call on in training because we're training with them on a Thursday. But I think as a whole, it's very, very exciting. It's exciting for wheelchair basketball in Northern Ireland, and it's definitely from a club point of view, being able to offer that outlet to people where it wasn't there before. So it has definitely been a good thing.
Yeah, no, that's obviously music's probably my Phil's ears to be fair, but I think there's another kind of side note to that from our perspective, which is a massive amount of credit probably needs to go to the Knights as well for buying into kind of what we've done so far and kind of saying, yeah, we'll join the league, yeah, we'll have fixtures with other teams, and yourself, learning from each other is the best way to kind of progress the whole thing. So, no, absolutely, I think, Phil, you might not bounce off this, but huge credit has to go to the Knights for buying into that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think you were always going to get buy-in to a certain extent, because I actually think that the Knights, as Neil's just laid out, that it can be a precursor to other things, other forms of competition, because that can be quite a steep jump from going to like an Irish League competition straight up into GB league competition, if you know what I mean, because they're chalk and cheese. So obviously you've got now a third tier in that kind of rung where people can come in, experience the sport, take another step up and then another step up. And in theory, by the time if somebody comes in at 7 or 8, by the time they get to 15 or 16, they've already experienced the game multiple times in multiple formats, and therefore should become more comfortable to take that step up into the GB kind of levels. But I suppose another question I had, Neil, like, give us an idea of the feel of the club. What's the feel of the club? I know we discussed in the first podcast that you had a decent sporting background prior to your acquired injury. So give us a wee idea of how that kind of felt and what the link was between maybe an able-bodied perspective and then the club at Knights.
Well, coming in and actually starting the sport was probably one of the most difficult things that I've ever done, and I mean that from like the actual skill required to play the sport. It's so hard to try and take that up when you haven't been in a chair all your life or you've never played a wheelchair sport before. So obviously in Gaelic or football, and this is something actually that I said to the boys before, it was like if I was ever having a bad game, you can just get a wee bit rough, you can stick the shoulder in, you can try and get by that way, just be the aggressor and try and get by. Whereas with wheelchair basketball, if you do that, right, there's your first foul, do it, second foul, you dumb, third foul. So I did get myself in a bit of foul trouble at the start. And then the other thing that I sort of realised was the loose ball comes up, so you're going for a rebound and you go to catch it and you're like, why am I not moving? You have to move the chair and get the ball at the same time, work it simultaneously. So the skill around it, obviously still have nowhere near mastered that, but I'm better than I was when I started. So yeah. I'm on the right. But just an incredibly tough sport to try and learn. Which is where obviously again I benefited from coming in, and you've got the likes of Jason, Nelson, Matt, like all these players there who just have a wealth of experience, and they can sort of break it down for you. They can regress the sort of practices that we're doing and help you learn it. So yeah. I've probably been lucky in that sense that they're there. My biggest regret is probably that I didn't start 7 years previous, and I could have actually been at a higher level by now. But coming over in Gran Canaria with James.
You could have been on lockdown with me. Great crack.
Anna doesn't need that, James. Anna doesn't need that, God help her.
Neil should have 9 years out.
James, would you attest to that? Is that something that you would sort of, I know that you're playing at the halves level of the game, from the skill aspect, would you agree with Neil in terms of not so much the difficulty, but the work that it takes to get there really, really high level?
Yeah, I would say if you look at able-bodied basketball versus wheelchair basketball, the resources that you have to split between moving yourself and also ball handling, scoring, defending, whatever, are cut in half. Like to play able-bodied basketball, to play wheelchair basketball the way you would able-bodied basketball, you need someone pushing you about in your chair. Like you have to think about two things at once. Like the first question anyone ever asks when they see you playing wheelchair basketball, if they've never had any experience, is like, how do you dribble and move at the same time? Because it's kind of alien, because they're like, but your hands need to be there and there at the same time. So it's the sort of the hand speed and the coordination required just kind of doubles, I think, because you have to worry about moving, stopping, turning. That's why when you see people who can like move their chair about with the ball in their hands and beat people with the ball, it's normally something special, or terrible defense. But at the high level, it's normally something absolutely special. But yeah, you really because of that, you absolutely need to have all your skills completely dialed in to get anywhere. Like you need to be pretty technically sound or proficient at least to go anywhere. Like that's the big difference you see when people start kicking it up a notch in terms of like when you watch a kid playing or someone new playing, is when they're comfortable with the ball in their hands moving and they can move their chair and they can dribble and they can pass. And when you can start putting all these things together using just two hands, it really, really makes a difference. I'm holding a microphone. I just realized I'm flailing it all over the place. But yeah, no, that's certainly a massive part of it. Obviously, I've never really played any other sport at a decent level. I used to swim, which was more of a physical thing than there's technical aspects to it as well, but there's certainly no ball involved. So yeah, I would 100% agree. It's pretty difficult.
That's really that interests me, that, because obviously kind of where I look at the screen, you two boys, Neil and James, at the bottom, and it's funny because you've got someone there who's played the back other sports. You've mentioned Gaelic football, Neil, and then James, you just said you won't be in any other sport, just real basketball. Just shows there's no kind of precursor to where it can take you and what you need to get in. You know, you look across Northern Ireland, for example, there's players who play other sports, like you said, Neil. There's other players that have come in and this has just been their only sport. It's brilliant. I think the sport can offer that as well. It kind of caters for everyone, dependent on their experience. It doesn't really matter because you come in, you make your way in it. Is that fair comment? Boys, I'm kind of throwing it open, I suppose.
Yeah. And there's quite a lot of players in our club as well that have come from sporting backgrounds, or they've come from having always been in a chair and they've come up through the system, like maybe James and Emer when she was there as well. Then we've got other guys who've come in from a rugby background, soccer, Gaelic.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jason was the one that had the most advantage because he played basketball and then started playing wheelchair basketball. So
yeah, I think that certainly lends itself a little bit to being good, because as soon as he went from running basketball and everyone's flying about all over the place, and then he came and started playing in a chair, and he was like, okay, so no one else can bother me if they can't jump. Like, I'm sure, like, there's sometimes he plays and everything just looks like it's so much slower to him because he's probably used to, like, the pace of the able-bodied game is way higher than the wheelchair game, just as a natural byproduct of being able to run and jump. But yeah, that's one thing. Jason just, like, he just looks like the game just comes to him really, really naturally because he's been doing it for years. But yeah, I think any other sport you can kind of just hop across. Like, I played a bit of tennis just recreationally when I was a kid, and I used to swim a lot. But like, no, I've been playing basketball long enough that there was nothing that it transferred from. That was just, I was so young that I didn't have anything else to transfer from. So
Yeah.
sitting in front of the TV doesn't count.
100%. I suppose something that we've been real interested in for a long time, and disability sport, and I and Andrea, you know, from the marketing team, and Kevin at the very, very top, getting progressive in the fund the hubs that Danny also manages to a certain extent, and the progressive hubs and wheelie active clubs that are going on, and Neil, you know about these. The clubs are actually there as a precursor, so people coming in and get the fundamentals of the sport. You know, how do you move in the sports chair? Can you work on your hand-eye coordination? So the theory is that by the time a young person gets to the age of 12, 13, maybe starting to look at getting into a wheelchair basketball club to a serious extent, then what you're finding is the kids that are coming through now should have a higher level of hand-eye coordination skill level, so that they can then progress in the sport a bit quicker. So that's something that we as an organisation have been trying to push through the progressive hubs and the wheelie active clubs. But I'll give you a wee funny story about whenever I first started at the SNI, and Aubrey had talked me into coming down to the nights to do a training session, because at the time Paul McKillop and Matt Rolston and James were on the kind of performance pathway. So I thought, I'll go down, I'll have a bit of fun, I'll try and interact with everybody. So get down there, and we were on the hammer flooring, which is a blue rubber floor, and that's a different story entirely. But we get going, and I'm like, this is so hard. This is so hard. My arms were aching, hands were torn to pieces. And I'm thinking, I am terrible at this. I am absolutely terrible at this. Like, I can't get moving at all. And it turned out at the end of the training session, Aubrey told me that he had let the air out of my tires, so I'd been pushing for an hour. And I had blisters on top of blisters, boys. Honestly, it nearly it murdered me. But all good fun. Completely roasted me in the first week, but it was good crack. It's all good crack. So I suppose, like, Neil, from your perspective, tell me about, like, you know, you've obviously got involved in the sport. How did it feel to actually then get back into competition then, you know, through the nights and going across the Irish League and then progressing up in the GB League level?
It was great, and I think actually I was quite lucky with the sort of pathway that was there for me at the time, because whenever I joined our Irish League team. James was in our GB League team, so we trained together, but I don't know if you were actually the first season, James, were you?
No, I was in Spain studying the first season you got there.
It was a GB League team anyway. James was there or thereabout when we were training and stuff. But I had the benefit of going to the Irish League games, which runs a similar sort of format, or did at the time, as the DSNI League, where it's like a round robin on the day, so everyone goes, meets in the same place, excuse me, and they all play each other, which is great, obviously, from a social aspect as well, because you're playing your competitive games, but then you're getting chatting to everybody else about your disabilities, about basketball, football, life, anything. You're just meeting all these people, and it's really like helps you mentally big time, as well as obviously the physical aspect of going and playing the game. But like I said before, having something to actually train for, so being in the gyms, it's boring. I still hate it now. But if I know that I'm doing it because I'm going to maybe get a chance to go out with the Ireland team, or I'll get captain the GB team for the league, it gives you something to work towards.
Yeah.
Which you need. Obviously, from a physical point of view, it helps you because it keeps you more focused when you're in the gym. And from a mental point of view, it's giving you something to strive towards. It's giving you a goal that you want to achieve, and then you break that down. How do you get there? Yeah. What do I need to do to reach that goal? So it's been great having it for the physical and the mental.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's something, we can all attest. Like, I love playing football at one stage until my knees no longer worked. And I was feeling the pain of it all. And Danny's obviously involved at a high level of cricket in Ireland. And then James, I suppose the question I had for you, buddy, was, Neil touched upon the social aspect of it. I know you're playing at in a pro league. Is that the same sort of feeling as well whenever you're traveling around different parts of Europe playing games as well? Is that a cool aspect to it?
Due to the sort of surgery that I had, missed out on the European competitions. The only tournaments I played this year, the only games I played this year were league games. So you go and you play one game and then you fly home. But even then, you go, and if you stay over that night, if you know anyone from the team, you're going to see them afterwards to have a bit of food or whatever. But going through my last couple of seasons, European tournaments are the best part of the year, because you get there on a Thursday, you start playing on the Friday and the Saturday, and if you're finished on the Saturday, you're out that night, sort of eating and maybe celebrating a little bit. And it's amazing because, even I'm just thinking last year in Sheffield, we hosted EuroLeague 1 finals, and there were, is it 8 teams? Don't remember. I think it's 8 teams from all over Europe just kicking around Sheffield, and you either know the guys or you know of the guys, and everyone's sound generally. So you kind of have a bit of crack, and in between games, you're sitting with your teammates and you're watching 2 other teams play, and there's a 4th team sitting over there that don't have a game on at the minute, and you end up talking to them about the 2 teams, and they're going, "Oh, I can't believe you did that." And all of a sudden you're just chatting away to international athletes from all these different levels. But so it's absolutely it's one of the best things. It's one of the best things about it. And even just I'm very fortunate on this team, the team I'm playing for at the minute out here in Spain, I rocked up here and me and Anna were put into an apartment with 2 of my teammates, and that could have been anywhere on the scale from best thing ever to absolutely terrible. And I'm very lucky that it was on the positive end of the scale, because they're 2 very good friends of mine, and I'm in a team full of very good people right now, and I feel very fortunate to have had the opportunity to meet them because of what is effectively a child's game that we're all very, very deep into at this stage. But you know what I mean? I've made some very good friends, and I've seen some very cool things, and I've met some very cool people, all because of this random, this thing that we started playing or getting involved in at different ages, and have kind of stuck with internationally. In terms of international teammates and stuff, I've got friends for life. I've got one of my GB teammates is sons is my godson. You know what I mean? Some very special sort of permanent bonds that I've come from something that I picked up as a 6-year-old. I think that just about still comes under the banner of social, but yeah, I'm very fortunate. I feel very lucky to have had that sort of experience.
100%. It's something we've also seen, as we prefer to say, Danny, me and you have both watched the NI League. The perennials have funded this season, and it's been amazing to see the impact that's had on the, you know, everybody within the domestic sort of scene within Northern Ireland. And it's something that we really noticed was the bond between the clubs. You know, everybody's on the court and they're fighting hard and they're being really competitive with each other. And, you know, as we say, we like to play with a bit of aggression. And then to see that off the court where people are sitting down, having lunch together and making connections from other clubs and arranging friendlies and stuff, is that something that, you know, has really had an impact on you, Danny, you know, from a club development perspective?
Honestly, I think it's a nice byproduct of what we've kind of developed, but I think you're right. I think it's what sport does, to be honest with you. You know, we've looked at 3 different leagues in this one chat, and there seems to be definitely a common theme, which is people chat about the league, chat about the sport, chat about things that happen in the league, top scorers, things like that, but then they chat about life, you know, your journey here, blah, 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 all those kind of things. So, it is an important aspect of it, and I think it's important to sport. And if you whittle down sport to what its core principles are, people coming together to play, compete, you know, have fun, get friends, all the rest of it. So, no, definitely. I mean, I suppose, again, I'm going to lead into another question, Neil, for you, if you don't mind. Kind of that camaraderie in the off-court stuff and the social development, we spoke about that, but obviously that's key within juniors, and juniors is a major part of what the club do, what your club do, which is amazing, and it's obviously something that we spoke about on previous podcasts as we want to enhance and develop ourselves. Your own involvement in the juniors, obviously, quite prevalent as well. I don't know if you want to give me a bit of background around that.
What is it, sorry?
Juniors, your involvement with juniors.
Yeah, so what actually happened was the juniors trained before us on a Thursday night. They trained 7 to half 8 and we started half 8. So I used to go up at about 8 and get a couple of baskets up and just sort of muck around. But you'd always be called in to help with a drill or even up the numbers or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I just started coming a wee bit earlier because I actually enjoyed the crack that they have. And it's their attitude towards it is just great. It's just, we're here to play basketball. And that's probably one of the things from the very start that sort of struck me and helped me as much as my actual own team was helping out with the juniors, because their attitude to it is just, meh, we're playing basketball. Like, they don't care that they're in a wheelchair or they have difficulty walking or anything like that. They just want to get in the chair and have fun.
Yeah.
And that is sort of their attitude to life as well. I think the big personality that you can't skip with that is Nathan McCabe. Like, he's one of the biggest personalities you'll ever meet, but his attitude's fantastic. It's just, right, it's not, I can't do this, it's how will I do it. So every time I see his dad posting stuff on Facebook, he's fixing cars, he's kayaking, he's playing basketball, he's up to no good. And that's just his attitude to life. And that's something that is sort of reflects throughout everybody in that team. So I did become a bit more heavily involved with the coaching side of it. Unfortunately, still haven't got my coaching badges yet, because every weekend that they've been on so far, I have been away training with the Ireland team or been on a competition. So Phil has tried a couple of times to get me in. Thank you, Phil. But I've just been busy, unfortunately. But it's been great to be involved with, and we've been down actually at a couple of the away games whenever we still had the juniors in the Irish League, and even just to see it at that age group where they're having the same benefits that I had as a senior.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
They're down and they're talking to kids from the other teams and they're mucking about between games, they're playing chases, they're just having the crack, just being kids, which is great because they're obviously developing the same friendships that have benefited so many other people. But then I think the thing that really strikes me, maybe even more so with kids, is when they get on the court, they're not friends anymore. Yeah. It's so competitive from such a young age. Really friendly competition. It's good. Because unfortunately, I think whenever you get to like an older sort of level, certainly with some of the teams that we'd have been competitive with, it's not so friendly off the court. You sort of start to lose that. It starts to become about competition, which again is healthy as well, because it keeps everybody improving. You want to beat them. You don't necessarily want to have a coffee with them after the game, but you want to get better at basketball and you want to win. So yeah, a wee bit there, so I did.
something that I was thinking about whenever you guys were talking about the competition, the travel, the banter that was going on, the competitiveness, and something within the Northern Ireland programme. And James, I'll kind of tell you about this from a player's perspective, because he's been involved with the system for a long time. Is the kind of personal independence is how we would put it. being able to travel on your own. So guys within RANI pathway are traveling from the ages of maybe 13, 14, right up to the ages into their 20s with the squad. And that is something that we're really, really passionate about, is saying, yes, you are going to make mistakes and you are going to feel uncomfortable, but think about what's going to happen the next time you go away, and not traveling with your parents all the time and not expecting them to lift and lay you and things like that. So that's something that I really, really noticed from all of the clubs, to be fair. All of the juniors that do come through, or all the players that come through, are always pushing that type of ethos that you need to be, responsible for yourself almost, and you need to be taking care of yourself. And there are going to be rough periods and stuff within that, but stick the fight, and you get. I think that's why we get some of the best juniors coming through throughout the UK, because they are so kind of ingrained in that sort of look after yourself and look after your teammates and others, and you won't go too far. Is that something that you could delve into a wee bit too, James?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that's so brilliant about this sport and sport in general is it's like you get to learn stuff that on the surface seems to be about basketball, but kind of serves you for the rest of your life pretty well as well. Like the independence that came from me getting on a plane without my dad when I was 13. At the time, it was just like, okay, my dad has this thing to do, or he can't come, or whatever. I have to go here because I want to win a basketball game with my mates. Like it was that at the time, but I was 13 as a kid with a disability, learning to look after myself. Obviously, I was well supervised, and I was there with a big group of people that there were plenty of responsible adults, and they all had my dad's phone number. Like I was perfectly safe. But at the time, like I was like, yeah, I'm going to look after myself. It'll be great. And I'm sure I probably picked up something there that I've sort of carried on through all the rest of this. And I think, as you say, we are uniquely prepared as players from Northern Ireland when we go across to GB stuff, because you can, like Phil, you probably know now that you can send a load of the juniors over to a camp and you're going to be there anyway because of your involvement with the junior setup over across in Sheffield. But you wouldn't have to babysit them because they're used to going out there, and there's probably a couple of Hallions that you'd need to babysit, but like you know what I mean, like that you can you know that you can send those boys across, and they're not gonna make you look stupid. They're not gonna misrepresent this badge or the Knights badge or Craigavon Lakers or whatever, because they've had that experience. And that's what I would say very generally, that's such a massive part of it. You get to like figure stuff out about yourself. You get confidence from being able to do stuff on your own. You get to you sort of get more comfortable in your own skin as a person with a disability, because you see a load of kids with disabilities. I think what Neil was saying about the young guys who were going down to Dublin and just messing around with other kids with disabilities is they didn't have a lot of them were sort of disabled from birth, so didn't acquire something that they had to get used to, so they don't know any better. And that's not didn't know any better and don't know any different, sorry. So that's something that I think really helps them sort of relax and just enjoy themselves. And I think, Neil, sounds like you watching them from growing up with a disability and not knowing any differently, it seems like you've learned something from that. It's really impressive to see. I love watching it, watching them all get stuck in anytime I'm back at training. It's absolutely class to see. There's no fear, there's no preconceptions of what they should and shouldn't be able to do with a disability. You put something on the floor and they try it and they figure it out if they can't. It's class. Yeah,
and that's pretty much the beauty of sport, isn't it? You give a kid a ball and just let them get on with it and have fun, and try not to, anybody who is coaching kids out there, try not to overcoach. Let's put it that way. Just let them have fun, let them explore the environment. Don't go too heavy on the the cones and the whistle and the rules and the regulations. Let things flow a wee bit more, and you will get an awful lot more from them, because they get to explore their environment and learn. I suppose that the other question I sort of had was, it interests me, is what were you've talked about vast experience. Obviously, you've been the internationals and played in Division B you were in, Neil, with Ireland last time out?
It was, I think so,
Division B, and you've played at GB level. winning leagues. I'm sure there's been times this season's been a tough season for you. So give us a wee idea of your kind of like hardest moments within that. It doesn't necessarily need to be on the floor within a game, but it could be personal, it could be, sport related. But what was the hardest moment?
Well, there's maybe a couple that sort of stick out. I was invited by, it was actually Jason was the Ireland coach in 2017 when they went to Bosnia. And there was a space in the squad. I was invited to go, but he told me, you're not going to get minutes. Probably not going to get minutes, but come and experience it because you're going to be there some years down the line.
Yeah.
So I went and I thought, you know what, fine, it'll be good to see. I'll get to train with the team. I'll get to see what you need to do to prepare and things like that. We were playing France, and I think it was our second game, and they pressed for the whole game. They'd completely destroyed us. And I can remember watching, isn't it Jordan Luce, James?
Yeah.
I remember watching him and being like, he's similar sort of points to me. This guy's class. This is really impressive. So sitting on the bench watching France, and Kirby goes, right, Neil. And I went, what, me? Against them? Are you sure? So he put me on. It was just to help try and break the press, take the ball, feed it back to Matt Ralston, and we'll try and get across the halfway line here. And that was basically my job for about 30 seconds. And Jordan just completely roasted me for that whole 30 seconds. I don't think I moved once. Like, couldn't go left, couldn't go right. He was there. And at that point, where I was in the game, you don't really know how to work with your teammates at every aspect of the game. You don't know, like, in my head, I was like, right, this is a one-on-one. No chance. Like, I had absolutely no chance. So that sticks out, but it was just that level. And it was a good experience for me as well. It was kind of like, right, that's where you can go with this sport. So it doesn't stop at NI nights. It doesn't stop at Ireland. You can get better, better, better. Obviously, James is now a GB world champion, and he'll probably still be of the attitude, it doesn't stop. You can get better, and you can get better. There's going to be better.
I'm nowhere near, like.
Huh?
I'm nowhere near where you can get to, like, absolutely. Like, you top out of one level and you're at the bottom of the next one. That's how it goes nearly all the way, like 100%.
Is that something you'd find in cricket as well, Danny?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at it from sport in general, and that's one of the things that I think is nice what we see in the minute, particularly the guys who are transitioning from clubs into your stuff. Is obviously you're starting to see now there's kind of a pathway forming just in Northern Ireland, first of all, and then like Neil and James have said, then obviously you kind of go look broader, it's Ireland, GB, whatever it is. But it's nice to see that kind of pathway forward. I think that's just sport. And I think the fact that we now have that on the table is just a nice. It's brought us to a point where we go, right, we're on a power of the sports now, which is nice, So, and particularly now we're seeing guys join your squad that are from around Northern Ireland. You're getting different accents, which I think is pretty cool. You're getting a full kind of, you know yourself, James, in your GB squads, England squads, you get someone from South London, someone from Yorkshire sounds like me, someone from Manchester sounds kind of like me and Peter Kay, that kind of thing, So, it's quite interesting. Obviously, now we're seeing that a bit more in Northern. I think it's really exciting. I think the pathway is a real nice thing. Actually, myself and Phil actually doing a lot of work on that in a minute and analysing it really, really closely and seeing where we're at. So, no, it's exciting stuff. But yeah, you see it in cricket, golf, tennis. You pick a sport. Tiddlywinks.
100%. Neil, I suppose if I've asked one, I have to ask the other. What's been your best kind of moment in the sport up to now? You've had lots of things that you've been involved in. What's been your best moment or experience?
Yeah, I think probably when we won the first division, and I think it was just because we played a lot of that season with only 5 or 6 players. Sometimes we travelled to away games with 5 players, and it was at a level where it was very, very competitive. So I'd missed that. I'd missed coming out of a game and you're checking online to see what the results were in the other games, to see where you are in the league or see if they've slipped up or is it in your hands or not. Yeah. So it was great following that the whole way throughout the season, and you knew coming into games like, this is going to be tough, this is going to be tough. Actually, one of the funnier moments from when we won the league was we were playing Manchester, and it was a 2-point game in the last quarter. I hadn't got on yet, but at this point I was like, kind of like, I don't want on. This is so intense. I don't want dropped in there, not at this point of the game. So there had been a packet of wine gums left out at half time. And I sort of just like, I'm not getting on. So I just like sitting there eating wine gums, like watching the last two minutes of the game. Like, this is class, lads. Keep it up, keep it up. I did play my parts in different games, and I wasn't on the bench all season. Just that game, it was funny, like, because Calvin as well didn't get on, and the two of us was like, hey, do you want a wine gum? To actually have went on then, and it was the day after that we played Oldham. I think, I'm not very good at remembering the names of the teams. We played them the day after, so we knew going into this last weekend we need to win these two games and we'll finish top of the table.
Yeah.
And we'll win the playoffs in first place, which we've done, thankfully. And it was great just that moment whenever it finally paid off. You've busted your backside all year. You've worked hard as a team. You've probably fallen out quite a lot as a team, which I know we had. We spoke earlier about like the environments that you go into with teams, and there was a time maybe during that season where you come in and watched ours and went, oh my God, why do they all hate each other? Like, what's going on? But it was just like, I don't know what it was. It was just like raw passion and competition of wanting to win and wanting to be the best and get the best out of each other. Yeah. Maybe in hindsight it wasn't the best approach that we took, and we could have maybe dealt with that a wee bit better. But hindsight's a wonderful thing. When you're in the thick of it, you can't really stand up and go, all right, lads, we're not doing this the right way, because you're just going to get shot down, especially with some of the big personalities in our team.
Yeah.
So I think so far that's probably been one of the best ones for me. Was winning the league and just finally getting something to show for all the work that you put in, which I'd had in the Irish League as well. Would won a couple of cups there, but it wasn't the same level of competition. It's kind of like you put the likes of Jason Kennedy in the Irish League, and I don't mean any disrespect to the teams in the Irish League, but he's that good that he can lift the rest of the team up with him, and he makes it a lot easier for us. But to see Jason and Matt and Nelson having to actually be competitive and being on par and maybe playing players who are better than them and having to work together to beat them and being part of that team, so it was just great to have something to sort of show for it at the end.
Yeah, no, 100%. I suppose that's something that you talked about, club environments there and competitive club environments, and I think to be fair, I definitely haven't been anywhere near the levels that you two guys have from an international standpoint or anything, but I think that once you get up to those senior environments, that it's a competitive environment is part of the enjoyment, if you know what I mean. You maybe don't like it at the time because somebody's had a gripe at you, but you know it's because that person respects you, they expect more from you, and they want to drive more out of you. So therefore, you work harder because you don't want to let that person down next to you. So you're almost in it together. You know, it's a common hardship, I suppose. So I suppose there's a new one for you. So yeah, it's something that I don't think there is a right or wrong way of doing it. I think it's just senior environments sometimes, especially with successful teams, tends to drive. You hear them stories an awful lot of times that people fall out, but then they continue to keep working forward and they work their stuff out. And I suppose Danny asked a great question. I don't want to kind of steal it on you, Danny. So do you want to give?
Steal away. No worries.
So the big one is you've obviously got your Knights top on. When you look at the badge, what way does it make you feel, or what does it mean to you?
I know obviously we answered this the last time around, but the question's the same. It's just the pride. There is a real sense of pride of being from the Knights. Whenever I think about the club, and I obviously do a lot for the club, not just on the court, I enjoy doing things off the court because it all builds to the same thing.
Yeah,
I feel that I've got a lot from the club physically and mentally, and I know that my family has as well. My mum's taken a lot of, I don't know what the word would be, like comfort from seeing me being competitive in sports again and seeing how much I'm enjoying it. And she likes coming and watching the games as well. So when I think about me and my family and how it's affected us, and we're just a little drop in what is essentially a Knights Ocean.
Yeah.
So there could potentially be thousands of people in Northern Ireland who either directly or indirectly have been affected positively by the Knights, which is great. Why would you not want to wear that with pride? And I think that's just because of the foundation of the club when it started up 30 years ago, obviously before my time and before a lot of us actually that are in the club at the moment. But we still work to the same ethos that they did, and we try to sort of build the same environment, keep the club going in the same direction, and keep it competitive while not losing what we're actually about. Yeah. So even the club statement itself is improving the physical and mental capacity of people with disabilities in Northern Ireland, and improving the physical and mental health. So to keep that at your core and build a family club that is competitive out of that is just, yeah, it's fantastic. It fills me with pride to be part of them. You always get stopped in the airports when you're going through because we're all wearing the same things. And it's always, oh, what do you play, blah, blah. And you take pride in answering them and telling them about your club and how long you've been around and what you're competing in. And sometimes people get the names wrong. There's a sort of running joke in the club. We were going through an airport and this girl came up to Paul McKillop. She sort of looked at the badge and went, the knickknacks, what do you play?
Right.
So we're the NI knickknacks.
Right.
James, can I kick that one across to you as well? Obviously, the elephant in the room is James played for many, many years at the Knights and owes a lot to the club. You know, how do you feel whenever you think about that badge?
You said it was a lot to the club, and I was like, I'm sure I paid my fees the last season. I was that just what Neil said is absolutely true. Obviously, the club has had a massive impact on myself and Neil and hundreds of other people with disabilities probably at this stage, and therefore thousands of people as a knock-on effect. And if you look at what the club's trying to do at the very core of it, as Neil said, is to look after people with disabilities and their physical and mental health. And from coming in that door at 6 years old to now, like, my life's immeasurably different. They've given me a platform to achieve something that has completely changed my life. Like this roof that's above my head right now is because of wheelchair basketball, and it all started because of a very sort of tight-knit group of people who started a club in 1990. I joined in 2001. It was different people, but the same thing was at the very heart of it. Like, they, at the time, probably rented a basketball court because they wanted to sort of get moving and get a bit of exercise and have a bit of crack. But they, like, that in itself is changing people with disabilities' lives. And it changed my life in 2001, and it's continuing to help people and change lives. And if you look at what started that off, was just a group of good people that really cared and really put everything into it. And you look at when I came in the door, Aubrey Bingham greeted me as soon as I got there, and he put me in a basketball chair for the first time and taught me how to push a basketball chair and dribble a basketball. And every time I go back, there's like your Jason Kennedy's, Paul McKillop's, Matt Rolston's, Neil Carlisle's are just pouring absolutely everything they have into keeping this club running. Yeah, like, that's the one thing I would say. The thing that keeps clubs like this going are the good people in the centre of it. And I said this about Neil the last time, and I didn't want to just miss it out again. Like, one thing that's absolutely the reason I thought Neil would be the best man to get on this podcast is there is no one who I've seen just like come into the club and straight away be such a big part of it. Like, as I said, I was in Spain when he first got here, and I was like, who's this guy in the WhatsApp group? He seems like good crack. And then I got back and I was like, no wonder everyone likes Neil. And then I've seen him in the same week organise a pizza party for the kids for the last game before Christmas, and then go and play a Premier League game at the weekend. And I've seen him organise a night at the races to raise funds. Like, Neil's come in and he's just got involved at every different level of the club, and it's an absolute testament to who you are, Neil, and what you've done for this club, obviously, in the short time you've been involved. But I think that just says a lot about what keeps clubs running, doesn't it? Like, it's people who get involved and really make the effort to make it a good place to be. And yeah, I always run out of steam by the end of these and never finish a sentence, but there you go. I'll be genuine for about 4 minutes there, so it's grand. No.
It's amazing to hear. Danny, have you anything to add to that from a club perspective?
Yeah, I think kind of echo that. I think, you brought a kind of multiple layers with player, remember, new player to the sport. You mentioned coaching as well, like so many levels to it, which is awesome. We really appreciate your time, and some of the insights, brilliant. Really do appreciate it, particularly because we've done this twice. That's 2 hours of your time. That's two beers. That's 2 beers, Phil.
Yeah, no, 100%. I suppose it's amazing to hear. Obviously James has spoke about your pull on the club. from just to kind of finish this up from a club perspective before we get into Danny's lightning round, what sort of aims and objectives for the club? What, from your perspective, what do you reckon you're at for 2020, 2021? What's next season hold?
I think before we sort of split off there because of this whole COVID-19 thing, with a couple of committee meetings about what we want to do going forward, and one of the things that we want to focus on is our junior level and getting more juniors in and developing that. It's kind of like one of them things with this club. I get the impression anyway, that over the 30 years, it's never just been, here's all the players for all the age groups, because obviously juniors get promoted up into senior teams and then you're lacking here, or senior players go off and join Sheffield for some reason. I don't know why they would do that, but Con, James, what's going on there?
It's called the Hodge effect.
Yeah, well, that's understandable, I suppose. Can't compete with that. So I think the big thing that we want to do is try and get more juniors in, which is difficult because, well, I think we've approached you guys about it as well, but don't really know how to, or we do know how to, but don't know how to put the wheels in motion. So you've talked about the really active clubs. Maybe we could start engaging with them clubs and looking at the kids there and just getting our name out there to people that might not know that we're available. Something actually that we did have arranged was with the Belfast Trust, where we're going to go down to Musgrave Park Hospital, and there's a couple of the spinal injury patients and amputees. It's sort of been told we're coming in, so come down and have a watch, give it a go, talk to the guys. And if I'd have had that when I was in Musgrave, I'd have been there 7 years earlier, just to have seen it and speak to somebody that maybe not, basketball isn't my life, it isn't everything in it, but it's a big part of it, and it's probably influenced where I am at the minute and where I want to go as a person.
Yeah.
Because with it, I wouldn't have had the same sort of mindset. I'd had limitations put on myself that would still be there if it wasn't for wheelchair basketball.
Yeah.
And that's just from the people that you meet, from actually getting on court and from being competitive, and the whole thing all builds in it and obviously helps build people. So I can vouch for that because it's happened to me.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're going to try and get going again with the Belfast Trust once this all sort of settles down, hopefully. But developing the juniors, I think, is where we need to be at. There's a couple of the boys who've got promoted up, especially Matt and Nathan are a big loss to the junior setup because they're two quality players, and they've been phenomenal this year as well in the DSNI League. I want the juniors to have the same sort of outlets that we had, or that maybe Matt had. So not just coming to training on a Thursday night, but to have, even if it's a handful of games, to have a squad of players that you can bring and go, right, play our junior team. I think that's where I'd like the club to go next.
I think that's one thing, mate, that myself and Phil have talked about in the SNI staff. One thing we've been very good at is looking at the gaps where the sport are, and I think a very obvious one we talked about in 2 or 3 of these podcasts is the juniors, so that's definitely something you're 100% right. And I think the phrase I used before, I know me and James spoke about this as well, is kind of training for training's sake. There needs to be something after that aim, so training is not just a weekly thing and just train, what's the outcome. There needs to be something. That's not for everybody though, at the same time. Training for training's sake for some people absolutely fills that desire, but actually I think you need to have that offer as well. But you're 100% right. That's something on the longer thing that we're aware of, definitely.
Something that stood out to me there, that me and Danny have also been working on, and Neil, you would have been involved in this as well, around the sort of campaign that we ran. And that net, the catchment net of people coming out of, spinal units and, after they've acquired a disability, is something that still needs work on, and we are working really, really hard with OTs and physios to show that the sport can provide these types of opportunities. And I suppose this is a great way to showcase that as well. The podcast is a great way for people to be able to tell their stories and show the positive impact that sport, and wheelchair basketball in particular, has had played a massive part in their life. Would that be fair to say, Danny?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And actually you were obviously involved in that campaign, the hashtag Come On Play campaign. No, that's definitely a big part of it. That's obviously one of the first things that we kind of looked at doing when me and Phil teamed up, and yeah, I think you're 100% right. Just that awareness around it, and the video on our Facebook page. I'm sure all the clubs have shared it as well at some point, and the poster as well. So definitely check that one out.
Listen, boys, it's been really, really great to talk to you about the club. Obviously, it's two things that we're all passionate about, in terms of wheelchair basketball, and then obviously James and Neil, you know, from an age perspective, it's great to hear you two guys kind of talk so positively about the club and how it's shaped your lives, and what the person that, or the people that you are have grown into and continue to grow. So cheers for doing that, guys. Thanks, Neil, for coming on. But we're not done yet. The big man's waiting there. I can see he's ready to go. So we've got the lightning round coming up here now, folks. So Danny, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I will keep this as quick as I can. Same questions as last week, Neil. I know you're an avid fan, and rumour has it, out of the 350 first views on episode 1, you were 3, 4, 9 of them. So you should know what's coming up. So, okay, I'll fire on through. Number 1 then, best moment in sport.
Well, I think I touched on it. So it was winning the league. That was maybe from a personal point of view. But then the other one was with the juniors. There's one of the juniors that come in and he's very quiet and he was always very timid. So you give a big shout at the end of training. Nights on 3, 1, 2, 3 nights, and I was always trying to get him to do it and try and get him to come out of his shell, and he would never do it, but I would always ask because I could tell he wanted to. He was just a bit too shy. And then one day I asked him and he just let out this roar, echoed around the hammer, and I was like, whoa, where'd that come from? So he's been doing it for us ever since. So that was actually, it sounds like something so small and trivial, but just to see him developing and coming out of his shell a wee bit was sort of, I'm doing something right.
Those soft things are massive. They're a big part of it, definitely. Funniest team member?
Still me.
So yeah, same as take 1. Yeah, okay. Hardest trainer?
Hardest trainer? Matt Rolston. The guy doesn't stop. He's got these 9 3-minute drills that he loves, and any time that the coach isn't there and Matt's taking training, he just loves to do it. And it's 9 simple drills, but you do it at the highest intensity that you can for 3 minutes, and the sweat is lashing off you at the end of it, and he loves it. Like, he's lapping it up. There's just, that was a no-brainer for Matt Rolston.
Brilliant. Toughest opponent?
Again, touched on this the last time. Obviously, other people weren't listening.
Yeah.
It was the toughest opponent that took me by surprise. So we were playing the Coyotes in the League One, so that was like the GB women team had all got together and formed a club team. And I can remember before the game looking at them and being like, you know, lads, how does this work? Like, obviously they've played 3-1-3, but they're all girls, so you know, how are they going to beat us? Like, we're all big burly men, and it was like the monsters from Space Jam. They just completely destroyed us. We didn't get close. So that was like, yeah, that was probably the toughest opponent and the one that took me the most by surprise. And I mean no disrespect to them in saying that, because they were all phenomenal athletes. And I see that very clearly now, having been in the front line and experienced it. Wouldn't want to come up against them again, let's put it that way.
Sporting hero?
I'll go for LeBron James for that one. It seems a bit cliche, obviously, because we're talking basketball. But
I thought you were going to say James. James was like, hey,
MacSorley.
Yeah.
All right, we don't need to tell them, Neil. It's fine.
James MacSorley, that's his nickname. LeBron James does a lot off the court. A lot of charity work in every city he goes to, and he sort of has that LeBron James effect everywhere he goes. And I think you'd maybe struggle to find something bad about him, which is impressive considering he's a global.
Yeah. Facts about yourself.
How do we think about this one? I did manage to find one. So
hey.
I hold the record for the quickest turnover in a wheelchair basketball game. I went in for the tip against this guy half my size. I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. And instead of tipping it, I just caught the ball and passed it. And that was a turnover. So,
yeah.
No rules.
A name for the future for you in basketball?
Personally, I want to stay involved with the Ireland team and maybe give a bit more. So obviously the Euros are coming up next year for them. I still want to be selected for the team. I feel that whenever we were away there in Bulgaria in the summer, we could have benefited from a big who played consistently well, or that could maybe lead the team, and we didn't have it. There's a lot of young players coming through, a lot of fast players, but we didn't have that one big that all the other teams had. Some of them had 2 or 3, and we missed it. So to improve my own game so that whenever I get to that level again, which hopefully I will, I can give a bit more to the team.
Yeah, no, good shout. This was a good one last week. Quote you live by?
Quote is by Dory from Finding Nemo. Just keep swimming.
I'm so glad you kept that from draft 1. I'm so glad.
Doesn't matter how tough it gets, you just gotta keep chugging along, keep swimming.
I like it. A live sports event you want to see?
The Boston Celtics. I'd love to go and see an NBA game. Had one booked for March against the New York Knicks, and it was the first NBA game to be cancelled, I think, because of this whole coronavirus thing. So I actually landed in Boston, could see TD Garden. Nobody was home, couldn't go. So absolutely gutted. But there's bigger things at play, and hopefully we'll get back there.
True, absolutely. Last one. What excites you about Wales basketball in Northern Ireland?
I think maybe just how quickly it's grown and to the level it's got to so far. So it's quite exciting to see where it's going to go, because you've got now the league next year will be a lot more competitive. Obviously, first place this year was sort of cemented on because we're the Knights. What can I say? But that will not be the case going forward. And the fact that we can even recognise that and say, you know what, you've got the Causeway Giants, you've got the Wolves. Other teams are going to come into it now as well. So the Bangor Bulls, which Luke's been helping coach with, it'll be exciting to see what all the different teams can bring it. And we know that it's not going to keep being a Knights runaway show. So I'm excited to see how our players react to a bit of a higher competition from the other teams. But I'm also excited, obviously, because the league's it's gone up and up and up, which is obviously only a good thing for wheelchair basketball in Northern Ireland and for the Knights sort of riding on that wave as well. If there's a higher caliber of player in general coming from Northern Ireland, then we're going to benefit from that. So
absolutely. That's your 10. Great answer, mate. Second time round. Good job.
No, 100%. Cheers, Danny. Cheers. Thanks very much for that. It's, as James keeps saying, that's the best part of the podcast. I don't know.
I think it's class. When Phil deletes this again, the third time's going to be brilliant.
Listen, folks, it's been really, really good to have you on. Listeners, make sure you tune in next week where we'll have episode 6. We'll be back on our club focus again. It's probably going to, I believe it's the last one, Danny, isn't that correct? Yeah.
Only one club left, so there's not really
one club left, and it's going to be a good one. So make sure you tune in as well. Neil, thanks very much for and giving us your insight. It's been really, really valuable, and I hope people appreciate it as well. Again, guys, we always finish off with sticking to the kind of public or health and safety kind of regulations, and making sure that within this lockdown period that you're staying inside and washing your hands, staying 2 meters apart when you're out and about. And then most importantly, we already know that social distancing at the moment is saving lives and helping the NHS fight this virus. So continue to do that. And I suppose all I have to say is thanks to Danny, James and Neil again. And then stay home, stay safe and stay active, folks. Thanks. See you next week.